All right, everyone, it is a happy time. It's time to announce that as of today, I've hit 250 million views on YouTube collectively. Now, technically speaking, I actually crossed that threshold a couple months ago, but the actual analytic content on YouTube counts views from videos that I've deleted. Now, while that's only like, what was it, 10 million or so additional views, again, I wanted to cross the threshold with active content. I figured that that's, sort of the actual metric. The one that the public sees on the actual page is the views minus from videos that you've deleted. This is a happy time. By the way, there will be links in the description to all of the other platforms that I put my videos on, Dailymotion, LBRY, BitChute, and Brighteon. And the reason for that is simple. While I'm very happy about succeeding on YouTube, 420 some odd thousand subscribers, 250 million views, watched, in any given day by several 100,000 people, that's great. The problem is that at this point, if you have any political opinions at all, your existence on mainline tech platforms is arguably tenuous. For about a decade, all I was a YouTuber. For the last few years, I'm a content creator, mainly in video and book format. I had to branch out. I'm very glad to have done so years ago. Shortly after the 2016 election, I saw the writing on the wall and realized that increasingly these sites, because they had a disproportionate impact on the U.S. and other political systems, and they were beginning to be organized specifically for that purpose by organized groups as opposed to just individuals as prior, that inevitably they would seek to screw one another and stab each other in the back and denigrate the First Amendment. We've seen the dissolution of the old order of big tech, which initially was very libertarian. Initially, if you listen to like Jack Dorsey 10 years ago, or you listen to Zuckerberg when he first founded Facebook, or people who built Google from the ground up, they sound like a bunch of vaguely left libertarians, like a bunch of true Gen X kids, basically like, Kurt Cobain playing with a computer, so to speak. Now they've sold out largely, and in many cases it's just to defend their own economic interests, which is fine and all well and good. Of course, now you have vertical monopolies created by government. So I'm very happy. 250 million views is nothing to shake a stick at. Very few people, I think, ever hit that threshold. I did a rough calculation, and this is a very rough estimate, by the way. Assuming the average viewing length per video, which is about 5 minutes, if I remember correctly, it would be over 2,300 collective years of content that had been watched in virtually every country in the world. I think there are only 4 or 5 different countries where I've never gotten a view. Of course, North Korea, there aren't many people on YouTube in North Korea. It'd be funny if Kim Jong-un or one of his generals watched one of my YouTube videos at some point. It's vaguely possible. I suppose they'd probably use a Chinese VPN anyway. Don't get many views from China. Remember, kids, China is objectively more censored than the West is, despite what some of the ethno-nats will claim. By the way, I would like to give a big thank you to all of my haters and critics as well. I made a video years ago in which I pointed out that in one sense it was arguably that people who disliked me and ran me down were more valuable to my work, at least in one sense, than people that supported it. And that's because I've got a very oppositional, defiant sort of personality. So if you tell me like I can't do something and try to put up a wall in front of me, I'll go through to great lengths to try to climb it or go around it or something. A lot of people get discouraged. Like if wherever 2 or more are gathered telling them that they're a bad person or that their ideas are shitty or they won't succeed, they stop. They get tired of it. I've seen so many creators, including legitimate, accredited individuals. We're talking people with high intelligence, large audiences. They quit at some point because of the criticism. When I get criticism, it makes me work harder. Like when I see a bunch of goofy leftists running around flapping their arms like second graders at me, it makes me chuckle and it makes me want to make more exclusive videos and branch out to even more climates, really, in the vlogging world. It makes me want to do more work. And I sort of trained myself years ago to become a workaholic, and it's paid off huge dividends. By the way, advice to other people who want to like succeed on tech, definitely use alt tech. At this point, don't put all your eggs in one basket, and make sure that the basket includes more than mainline tech, because all that has to happen is that one reasonably well-known censorious jack-off has to take a disliking to you and get a flag raid going, and they'll pressure the corporate media. Craptivists will go after you. Even if you're on the left, look, this has happened to people on the left too. Facebook, a couple of years ago, I remember They had a big-ass broadsheet of groups that Facebook had purged. Half of them were like progressive groups. Half of it was like Cop Block and then hardcore environmental pages and shit like that. The fact that you're on the left doesn't save you from censorship. The only group that doesn't get censored are the boring neoliberals who don't have new ideas and are basically, they sound like fucking Al Gore or something. They're pushing the same bullshit from the 80s and 90s. And they're perfectly fine. And there's plenty of corporate pages that say vaguely edgy stuff once in a while, but they're priority creators. If you're an independent creator and you want to succeed, you should have a BitChute channel. You should have a Brighteon. You should be on Gab or Parler or whatever. You should use Minds. The thing is, what you do, it's very simple. Get those presences, build a mainline audience. YouTube is still a great place to get a large subscriber base, but you need to advertise the fact that you're on other sites too. What happens is that once you inevitably get banned off the big ones, if you have any edgy views at all, it's getting more and more likely for that to happen. There's a gap. What happens is that if you haven't popularized your other presences, everyone forgets your existence, so to speak. And then you have to build from the ground up on these smaller platforms. These smaller platforms are growing in part because people like me keep making exclusive content and talking about them. You have to let people know that they're there. There are so many creators that they have a BitChute account, they never mention it. They have a library page, they never mention it. They're on all these platforms, but they don't actually do anything to make that presence grow. There's an organic audience there. I'm already building that up. I'm at almost 83,000 people are subscribed to me on BitChute. It took me 8 years to build that on YouTube. It took me 2 years on BitChute. I love alt tech. So yeah, 250 million views, billion with a B. That's a hell of a lot of material, and that's a hell of a lot of time that's been spent on that material as well. And I thank you all, to everyone who's backing me, to people who are funding me especially, who buy the merch, who buy the books, who leave comments and interact with the content, who share it out. It's very, very helpful when you do that. Here's to the next 250 million that I may or may not actually get to see. Depends on what YouTube does with its algorithms and how censorious it gets. At this point, it's only a couple years out, probably from 500 million views totally. Probably be, 500,000-600,000 subscribers as well at that point, and that's with algorithmic throttling. That's quite a bit of growth, considering that I have to fight with an arm and a leg tied behind my back against corporations that have limitless budgets and staff numbering in the dozens to hundreds range. I feel pretty damn good about my success. That's about all. Peace out.